Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. I'm just incredibly excited to get into this one today because we're tackling a massive, persistent point of confusion that's been swirling around the developer ecosystem. Honestly, it's about time we clear this up once and for all. So, our goal today? We're going to rigorously untangle a really widespread architectural mix-up. We'll systematically dissect two completely different technological components: local logic and on-chain state. And then we'll actually show you exactly how they flawlessly snap together to create real physical hardware automation.
Okay, let's just dive right in by asking the exact question that's sparking so much debate right now on all the forums and developer discords. Is the hierarchical script database, often called HSDB or SeedTreeDB, is it an on-chain LIFO ledger? Because people are genuinely conflating these terms left and right.
And the short, definitive answer is absolutely not. No way. Today we're going to bust this myth wide open. We'll unpack exactly what HSDB actually is, and then we're going to introduce you to the completely separate technology that literally does handle that LIFO ledger.
So, here's our quick roadmap for the explainer. First, we'll cover the great architectural mix-up. Then we'll look at HSDB, the local engine. Third, we'll shift to ERC-7827, the global anchor. Fourth, we'll meet the index zero bouncer. And finally, bridging to physical reality.
All right, part one, the great architectural mix-up.
When we're dealing with really dense terminology that spans across both Web3 smart contracts and localized hardware, developers inevitably cross their wires. They end up confusing active local compute with passive global state. Think about it like a car. Developers are fundamentally mixing up the car's local engine with the actual highway it drives on. The car engine represents local, active logic. It's actively evaluating rules, burning fuel, making decisions. But the highway, that's the global passive state. The highway doesn't make decisions at all. It's just fixed, undeniable infrastructure that simply records where you are. You absolutely cannot blend these two concepts, or, honestly, your entire architectural understanding just completely breaks down.
Which brings us to part two, HSDB, the local engine.
So what exactly is the technical makeup of HSDB? Well, it's a strictly localized web-based engine built entirely on Node.js and HTML. And its real superpower is that it uses a nested digital filing system to unify static data, what we call our nouns, and active computing logic, our verbs. It literally merges them right next to each other into single unified nodes within the application runtime. Now, to maintain perfect order inside this localized database, HSDB uses what's called the syn kernel function. That stands for thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. Before a single byte is ever even written, this local engine actively evaluates the logic. So it's a highly active, localized framework making real-time decisions.
So here is the crucial, definitive reality check. Because HSDB is the active engine evaluating that syn logic locally, it is absolutely not handling the global LIFO state ledger. It's your local car engine, not the global highway. It evaluates logic before a write ever happens. It does not store the global state of the entire ecosystem.
Moving on to part three, ERC-7827, the global anchor.
Right, so if HSDB is the local engine, what is the global highway that the engine drives on? Well, before we go deeper into that, let's slow down for just a second and clearly articulate what LIFO actually means in this specific data context. LIFO simply stands for last in, first out. It's a strict architectural structure where the very last item entered into the system is always the absolute first item to be retrieved. Think of a stack of plates at a buffet, right? The last plate placed on top is always the first one someone picks up.
And that brings us to ERC-7827. This protocol takes standard, lightweight JSON, just the basic text format we use every single day, and transforms it into a rigorous mathematical smart contract layer. It introduces something called value version control. By operating entirely as a LIFO JSON state tree, ERC-7827 acts as the vital mathematical protocol trunk. It provides passive, global, on-chain state. In the past, older floating upside-down data trees were labeled as apostasy because they were just chaotic and top-heavy. ERC-7827 completely replaces them by securely anchoring bit-perfect version control directly on the blockchain. This is our unyielding highway.
Next up, part four, the index zero bouncer.
If you've been hanging around the community spaces lately, you've definitely heard this analogy tossed around, and it is time we clarify exactly where it belongs. The highly efficient bouncer concept brilliantly illustrates the exact heart of the confusion.
The bouncer analogy belongs entirely to the ERC-7827 smart contract. It represents the global LIFO ledger, not the local HSDB engine.
Let's walk through the strict deterministic logic together. Imagine a highly efficient bouncer at a completely packed nightclub. This bouncer? He doesn't care about the hundreds of people wrapping around the block. He doesn't need to scan the entire history of the line. He only needs to look at the ID of the person standing directly in front of him right at that exact moment. In ERC-7827's LIFO ledger, that person standing right in front is index 0. By querying only index 0, the system gets immediate mathematical proof of the absolute state. This unlocks incredibly efficient single-entry bookkeeping. There's zero ambiguity. It's either mathematically true or it isn't, and it saves massive amounts of compute by entirely bypassing those bloated historical scans.
And finally, Part 5, Bridging to Physical Reality.
Okay, we've separated the car engine from the highway. Now it's time to snap the pieces back together to see how this builds a frankly mind-bending path from a passive digital route securely anchored on the blockchain all the way to an active physical leaf node. Step 1. ERC-7827, our passive highway, securely anchors the bit-perfect digital truth at the root. Step 2. Instead of a heavy smart contract, a simple HTTP 402 webhook fires off, demanding a secure cryptographic receipt. Step 3. The local HSDB engine, the active logic, sitting inside a localized robotic shell called a cheerbot, reads that absolute truth and translates it. And finally, Step 4. That local engine sends raw electrical signals out through physical GPIO pins to instantly spin a motor, flip a switch, or dispense an item right there on your desk. The global state commands, and the local engine executes.
I want to take a second to just elevate this technical breakdown into a truly profound philosophical takeaway. This entire process is often referred to as crossing the semiotic bridge. We're mapping the fuzzy, associative intent of human imagination, translating it through the rigid, deterministic text of a JSON ledger, and firing physical electrical logic gates. As the quote perfectly puts it, we are quite literally tricking rocks into thinking using lightning and text. I mean, it is the ultimate translation of abstract human will into concrete physical reality.
So, we've burrowed through the noise, we've untangled the mix-up, and we've definitively separated the active local engine from the passive global highway. We've locked down the exact state of reality at index 0. Now I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. We don't just approximate digital reality anymore. Through this architecture, we mathematically possess its exact indisputable state. Now that we possess absolute mathematical truth, what will you program it to do? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning the systems around you, and I'll catch you next time.